Hi there. On this video, I will show you how I use my Tweed brushes. Let's begin by adding a new layer, choosing a Tweed brush version A, and painting the base fabric. Here, I chose a pretty pink for a classic tweed look. Next, I chose black as a contrast color, picked up the corresponding Tweed brush version B, and painted over on a separate layer on top. I knew I wanted the black and pink combination, but wasn't happy with the results. So to give the contrast layer a more blended yarns and realistic fabric effect, I lowered the layer's opacity, and it worked perfectly. Then I added a new layer and picked up the accent stitch brush in white. Now it's time to get creative and sketch your accent color yarns. I usually start with a basic plaid as I did here. The lines should be somewhat evenly spaced, but they don't have to be perfectly straight. For this tweed, I decided to make the plaid with double lines. So I duplicated the layer, clicked on the arrow from the top left menu to select the new layer, and slightly moved it around until I liked the results. Next, I merged the two layers, as I will keep them the same color, and added a new layer on top for a few more accent stitch lines. This time I chose black and did vertical staggered stitch lines. And once again, I played with the layer's opacity until I felt it had a more blended look. Now it's time to add the more confetti-like stitches. For this, I added a new layer and chose the Tweed Accent number 1 from the set in a light and pretty periwinkle color. Then I switched to the Tweed Accent number 2 brush, and this time I went with yellow. When using the Tweed Accent brushes, simply scribble around in a circular motion. Next, I decided to try adding a few random accent stitches in red. For this look, all you need to do is drag and drop the color on an existing stitch from the previous step. Now let's add a layer under all the texture layers we just created. On this layer, I will create a shape for my swatch. Next, I hid all the texture layers so that I can focus on drawing my shape. Open the brush library, choose a paintbrush, and draw. I only used red as it was the last color I had active on the palette. We will switch colors after we are done with the final shape. For my illustration, I want a raw-edged piece of fabric look, so I am adding one of my frayed edge brushes to the border. You can find the link to my website and Etsy shops on the description. My sets are super affordable and will save you a ton of time. Once you are done with your shape, switch the color to white and duplicate the layer. Once you are done with your shape, switch the color to white and duplicate the layer. In this case, I chose black only because my background is a very clean image. Pure black can look dirty as a shadow, so be sure to play around with different colors. I did lower the opacity to make it less intense. Now let's bring back the texture layers and tap on each to create a clipping mask. I would normally group all the fabric layers together before doing this, but I will be showing you later a few color changes, so I am keeping them separate for now. Now that I have my fabric piece finished, I am going to work on the drop shadow effect. Go to the bottom shadow layer, tap on the magic wand, and select Gaussian blur. Again, this is a trial and error process of effect, color, and layer opacity, so adjust until you are happy with the results. Since I didn't love how black was looking, I switched to color to a dark gray and repeated the process. And that didn't quite work either, so I switched to an even lighter shade of gray and wiggled a bit with the Gaussian blur again. This lighter gray worked great. So now it's time to move on to the adding a camellia. The camellia stamp and pearl brushes are included on the set as a free bonus. Let's start by adding a layer for it at the very top. Then switch colors to white and add the camellia stamp. Now duplicate the layer and change the color of the bottom one to black. Duplicate the layer again to create a drop shadow layer. Here, choose a dark color that will be tonal to your background. And once again, play with the Gaussian blur until you are happy with the results. In this case, I also selected the stamp and moved it slightly to the side and down. Now let's add a new layer for some pearl strings to complete the look. The pearl string brushes are also included as a free bonus to the Tweed fabric set. First, I did a black pearl string. Next, I duplicated the layer and changed the bottom layer to white to provide a background to the pearls. I don't know why opacity can be slightly dull even at 100%, but sometimes I duplicate layers and it really helps with brightness. Then I grouped the white layers and duplicated it again to create my drop shadow layer. Switched to a tonal color and played with the Gaussian blur. And selected the shadow layer to slightly offset it for a more realistic effect. Now let's add some white pearls. Since the process is pretty much the same steps, I'll speed up the playback. And last but not least, I'll show you how easy it is to design a collection by changing the tweed color combinations as long as you keep them in separate layers. This is why some of my fabric textures have versions A, B, and C of the same print, so that it gives me the options to create countless versions. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found useful tips, even if you are working with your own fabric textures. Please like and subscribe, as it helps the channel grow. If you are a fashion designer, be sure to join our community by visiting my website and adding your email to my newsletter list, where I will share exclusive content and discounts. And don't worry, I won't spam you or sell your info. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.